going to invite the seniors into our center seats. So come on, seniors, you've got some beautiful chairs for you. Come on into the seats, okay? Seniors, juniors, come on into the seats. We'll give you the special center row. Thank you. Come on, seniors, juniors, off the bleachers. Come on in. There's some beautiful spots on the chairs. We want to fill this place and make it look home. Okay? Yeah, it's not a. Yeah, come on into the chairs. Thank you. We've got the seniors and the juniors coming up. We've got some signs in the back. All right. Thank you. Thank you for everybody coming, for our guests, for our audience, for our defenders, and for our judges. Let's give a round of applause for celebrating literacy together. Just last year, we had a very special occasion. It was a ceremony, it was a wedding, it was the marriage of Writes and Reads, a very lovely matrimony. 3 years ago was the advent of HIS Writes, a creative short story contest that has had some beautiful stories that move our hearts. The year that I came to HIS, we began HIS Reads, a contest to defend a book of choice and to defend literature itself and reading. We're very happy today to once again bring HIS Writes and Reads together. Let's give a round of applause for literature. HIS Writes. This is our writing competition. It's grades 6 through 12. I'll talk more about this, but today we have 5 final stories, 6 finalists, and 5 judges who have had a chance to read the final stories and to make their decisions. Today we have HIS Reads. We have 16 books, 16 contestants, and 5 judges sitting right before you, ready to decide who has convinced them to read that book of choice. We have one theme: to pivot forward. We all know that there are moments in our life, these pivotal moments that make a huge difference. Those are the moments that change us. Those are the moments where a character in a book might do something that we look at, that we can understand about that character and understand something about ourselves. Likewise, when we create a story, we create a character who has real weaknesses and real desires and real struggles and real decisions, pivotal moments. And with those choices, it tells us something about who they are as a person. Our theme for this year is to pivot and to pivot forward. All of our books were chosen on that. All of our stories were written around that. HIS Reads was begun in 2014. It encourages students to read more, to think deeper, and to persuade others to do the same. Today we have 16 finalists. Let's give a hand right now to our 16 finalists right here. Give them a hand. HIS Reads Finals is different than the qualifiers. Today, it's single elimination, face-to-face, head-to-head. When you hear your name as a finalist, I'd love for you to stand up so everybody knows who you are, and I'm going to read the matchups that are on the screen. So could I have Nina and Taylor stand up, and let's give them a hand. And up next, we have Daniel and Gardy. Let's give them a hand. Another face-off that we have is Hane and Ava. Let's give them a hand. Emilio and Marie. Give them a hand. Jiwoo and Nico, give them a hand. Jiho and Toshi, give them a hand. Jiyu and Asana, give them a hand. And last but not least, Nanako and Yeyu, let's give them a hand. Thank you. And you might be wondering a little bit about HIS Reads. If you're here as a parent supporter, you may not know as much about it, so I'd like to share a little bit about some steps that students have taken. A main focus of HIS Reads is to create a culture of people who love reading. Reading is foundational for much of our thought, our writing, our modalities, the things that we do and the things that we think. And so we really encourage students to choose a book to love, to read that book with passion, with interest, to think deeply, to think about the ideas that come from that, to draft a script. HIS Reads is divided into 4 different rounds with 4 different criteria. And then, of course, there's the performance, and to practice that. And then we have the qualifiers. And to become a finalist, you need to win your qualifiers or be a very, very honorable mention. And then you go against 15 other students in this 16 competitor single elimination finals to become the best reader, the best persuader, the best defender of reading. Let's give a hand once more to our finalists. Throughout the contest today, I'll be introducing a lot of different things. I'll be introducing our judges for HIS Reads. I'll be introducing HIS Writes. I'll be introducing the different contenders for HIS Writes, and also the people who make everything really special, our defenders and our judges. I'd like to start with our first judge for HIS Reads in the finals today. And I'd like to read a little bit about him and his role in promoting literacy and reading. Let's give a hand right now to Mr. Sorry about that, I didn't spell it. Barry Moynihan. Thank you. Even a publication teacher misses some misspellings. So Barry's hope each year is to connect students to the joys of reading. As a reading teacher, he wondered how to explain the qualities of a good reader. He wondered how to express personal reading experiences. He wondered how he could celebrate reading to create readers for life. He wondered how he could teach students to document evidence of empathy. He wondered if he could get students to read like a detective. He wondered if he could get his students to buy into developing a more balanced approach to reading. He wondered if he could get children to love poetry. He wondered if he could get students to notice patterns in their thinking. All of those wonderings are all the beauties that come with reading, and that's why we're very happy to welcome Barry Mernon with an A. Let's give a hand. Each one of our judges has before them a bracket. They don't look exactly like this one, but here we have our different contestants. They've all been selected and sorted and arranged through a bracket. This is something that people in sports might be familiar with, from basketball to wrestling, and it's the way to kind of move things forward and to see how people can stand up as they defend the book. Being up here, of course, is a lot of pressure, perhaps, and so we'd like to reward that as well. And the way we reward defending reading is with more access to great books. First and foremost, the prizes are what in Japanese is called a tosho card, a library card. And so we've got some library cards available for our HIS Reads finalists, for our HIS Writes finalists, from 5,000 down to 1,000. Everybody gets certificates, and we have some beautiful books of choice over there to encourage choosing books that you love and to become a reader who knows what kind of books to choose and to understand who you are as a reader. So very thankful for the school that I work at to support something like this. So let's give a hand for that support. And all of that leads to our very first match. Let's welcome up to the stage Nina and Taylor for round one. Nina, you can take the podium. Taylor, please have a seat in the chair and you'll run that. Round one. Questions, essential questions. Socrates used this method to engage with his followers, to get them to think. Our defenders are challenged here today to get you to think about the book that they've selected and the ideas that they have extracted from those books. That's their challenge, and they have 1 minute to do it. It's Nina versus Taylor. Nina will be up first. Taylor will run the timer, and once again, there's 1 minute and 3 seconds, so please begin at 1 minute and finish any last thoughts when the timer goes off, and then we'll switch to Taylor. Are you ready? Okay. Taylor, you can start the time.
Public school is a ploy by the government to lead children away from God. Well, you may never believe this. What if you were told this from a young age and that's all you knew? That's what happened to Tara Westover, author of the memoir, Educated. Throughout the book, Westover discusses the power of knowledge. Having grown up unaware of the world, when her eyes were opened, both her and her world changed forever. It was a pivot point, per se. Her ability to take this huge change in stride highlights the fact that change is often hard, but healthy. With this change came lots of learning and a completely new path for her future. As she says, an education is not so much about making a living as making a person. And isn't that what reading does for us? Reading teaches us not to accept the world as it is, but rather to investigate further. Ultimately, reading helps us become the people that we are, just as it did for Westover. For her, with reading came a completely new life. Now imagine you were in Westover's position. Would you blindly follow the beliefs of your family, or would you sacrifice your relationship with your family to explore the world for yourself?
Round of applause. Thank you. You guys can switch. And up next we have Taylor defending Ready Player One. When you guys are ready, Nina can start the timer.
In a dystopian future where virtual reality has dominated the world, a boy embarks on a journey to find fortune and fame. As he enters, 3 words appear. Ready, Player One. Written by Ernest Green, the book sets up in the eyes of a boy named Wade. Wade is born in a world where virtual reality offers an escape from reality in a game called Oasis. As thrilling, exciting, and as nostalgic as it may be, and as creative a message to the reader, is more than that. It's a story of how a boy navigates this fierce and dark world around him, and has pivoted a way around it. Through this book, it shows how a book can emphasize of how complex and hard life might be, and that running is not the right answer. As the creator of Oasis tells Wade, this quote made me go deeper into the value of reading a book. He says, I realized as terrifying and painful as reality can be, it's the only place where you can find true happiness, because reality is real. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Nina and Taylor. Our second matchup pairs Daniel versus Gardu. Daniel and Gardu, can you take the stage? Daniel will be defending first. He'll be defending in English to live. You might be able to hear what it's called in Chinese. Daniel and Gardu, when you guys are ready, Gardu, you can start the time.
Books are like the voices of the people who came before us. They warn us about the mistakes that they made, so that we don't make those mistakes again. Imagine losing everything you hold dear. Not once, not twice, but over and over and over again. This is a story we find in Yuhua's To Live, or 活着 in Chinese. The importance of learning from history is to prevent the same mistakes from happening again in the future. To Live follows the Xu family over 4 generations, pivoting through different time periods of China, from the KMT to just before the Great Reform. It's not just a story about losing everything, it's a warning. It shows the dangers of extreme government control and the importance of standing up for us to protect our own future. Now, how can a story about losing everything teach us to live a life of everything? Thank you.
And not to get political, but the Timberwolves are pretty hot, and KG played for them. But Guardian will be defending KG A to Z, and whenever you guys are ready, Daniel, please start the time.
Look, is it really valuable to read a book? Spend all your time you have in your life in this piece of paper. Book shows its really true value when you catch the message of what the book's trying to tell us, how it's trying to inspire our life. The message the book, my book, KG A to Z, is trying to tell us is that anything is possible, unless you don't stop running. KG was a high schooler a few weeks before he was in the NBA. Just imagine Tata being in high school in a few weeks. It's crazy. He joined the NBA right after he graduated high school, but it took him 13 goddamn years to win his first ring, his championship. It was his first season after he got traded. He changed himself and accepted new roles, accepted a new version of himself. With maturity to change yourself, he showed that there's nothing impossible. When he won his first NBA title, he said, anything is possible. What I picked up from this book, and what I want all of you to pick up from this book, is that if you don't stop running and chasing your dream, you can achieve it one day. Instead of saying, why me? Say, this is what I'm meant to be doing. This is what my life wants to be doing. Remember, anything is possible.
Thank you. One more round of applause for Daniel and Guardian. And if you've noticed the judging table, we have 5 judges there. There was a time when I made the mistake of having 4 judges. So if you walk in through the Genkan, you get to see some co-champions, but never again. Right? And so we move to our second judge. You all know him as your head of school. This is Mr. Tim Schlosser, but I want to tell you about his love for reading. Tim Schlosser's dad. Yeah, that's right. And Tim Schlosser's dad read books aloud to him and his brother from a young age, which sparked a lifelong passion for reading. This inspired him to become a language arts teacher, and he now enjoys reading each night to his own sons, Jian and Koa. You can see Jian around here, I think. All-time favorites include the brothers Karamazov, Dune, and of course, Lord of the Rings. He believes storytelling just might be the most powerful tool there is for positive change, and he feels honored to join HIS Reads as a judge once again. Let's give him a round of applause. There has been so much research on the power of story and of moving humanity forward, and so I can completely relate to those words. And I'm also surprised to see, I know that we share a lot of similarities in reading, but the brothers Karamazov is also another one of my favorites, so thank you for that. Our next matchups. We welcome to the stage matchup number 3, Jiyu and Asana. Jiyu will be defending first. Let's give them a round of applause. Defending the Alchemist. Once you're ready, Jiyu, Asana, you may start the timer.
What is the true value of life? For me, the value of life is to make a dream. It doesn't matter if it's big or not. It's important that you have a wish that you hope to achieve someday in your life. Reading books can also help us to make a dream, like the book The Alchemist helped me. The author of the book says that to make your wish come true, you must fully know your wish and always hold on to it. In other words, you have to pay a price to make your dreams come true. Quote, "How much can I give up my time? How much can I give up my devotion and precious thing for what I want? There's only one thing that keeps my dream from coming true. It's because of fear of failure." The main character, Santiago, goes on an adventure and he gets a lot of realization in the process of growth, overcoming his fears and pivot toward his goal. We too have to change ourselves to become better people. Have you ever chased your dreams even though you were afraid? Thank you.
Defending flowers for Elgernon, we have Asana. When you're ready, Asana, to you may start the text.
What do you think we need for happiness? Some of us may imagine a good paying job, a huge house, or perhaps becoming famous. For Charlie, the main character of my book, Flowers for Algernon, it was being smart. Charlie was born with a low IQ, and he believed that he needed to be smart to be happy. But everything changes when he is chosen for experiment to increase his intelligence. Yet, he isn't satisfied. You see, in life, we often become blinded by less important things, forgetting about what is truly important. Charlie already had everything he needed to be happy, but his strong desire to become intelligent led him to believe it wasn't enough. A good book should touch your life and change you as a person. The value of reading this book is that it made me learn you already have everything you need to be happy. And just like Charlie, we have to pivot and realize whether you're happy or not is all up to you. You control your life and your own happiness. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Chiyu and Asana. Thank you. And up next, we welcome Nanako and Yeeyun to the stage. Nanako will be defending first. Give him a hand. Defending 1984. Once you're ready, Nanako, Yeeyun, you may press the turn.
Everything you do is seen and heard, your every movement monitored, even your thoughts. The year 1984, the world, a dystopian society controlled by a totalitarian regime. In this society, imagination is controlled through the use of censorship and propaganda, and it shows how words hold immense power. Orwell's fears from witnessing firsthand the rise of Hitler and Mussolini are reflected in 1984. Quote, "Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. History is constantly erased and rewritten, all information altered to prove that the party is always right. Language is shortened and simplified to diminish any deeper meaning a word holds. Reading diversifies our perspectives. We gain knowledge so that we can prevent a totalitarian society, a place that manipulates, exploits, and strips away individuality. It allows us to pivot forward into a world that is more supportive of liberty. How would you feel if your freedom was stripped from you?" Thank you.
And Yeeyun will be defending Cosmos. Once Yeeyun, you're ready, Nanako, you can start the turn.
Who am I? Why do I matter? I was trapped in the thought that I was just a speck of dust in the universe until I read Cosmos. Carl Sagan's non-fiction book, Cosmos, explores a range of scientific features, including astronomy and the history of human civilization. Sagan shows that mankind and the cosmos are made of same elements, therefore we are fundamentally the same. This idea made me pivot and change direction by showing me that maybe I'm not just a speck of dust in the universe, but something more. Just like I pivoted after reading this book, Reading can change your perspective and understanding of not just the world, but of the entire cosmos. As Saigon says, the cosmos is all that is, or ever was, or ever will be. If this is true, then what is our role in the cosmos? Thank you.
Another round of applause for Nana Konyeyun. That was wonderful. And now we turn to honor the judges once more because they do have a challenge ahead of themselves. We welcome another one of our judges, Miss Ivy Lim. Ivy Lim is an English lecturer at Sapporo Gakuen University. She's currently pursuing a PhD with research focusing on second language learners' acquisition of English phrasal verbs. Apart from reading academic books related to her research topic, she enjoys reading non-fiction books such as Life Philosophy of Zongji, Bill Bryson's Notes from a Small Island, and occasionally reading fiction such as Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. Let's give Ivy a round of applause. And I'm very grateful for Ivy for making the time to come here. She came to the qualifiers and mentioned she might come, and it's wonderful to have her, so thank you once again. Matches 5 and 6. We welcome to the stage Jiwoo and Nico. Give them a hand. Jiwoo will be defending Frankenstein first.
Curiosity killed the cat. I'm the inventor. Curiosity is the basic human desire that drives us forward in our lives, and as a devoted scientist, I was determined to take the risk to change the course of humanity. I finally generated a human alive out of completed body parts. But it was too late when I realized what I had done. My fate was sealed, and I couldn't stop it from coming. I only had one choice. I ran away. I've created a monster. Curiosity killed the cat, but what if it deserved it? Every story warns of the results of actions that are done. This book shows the need of curiosity, followed by dealing with its consequences, showing a monster created without it. The fixed focus on curiosity can only be for the better if held accountable. Now, the question is, how can we pivot from initial curiosity to start taking ownership of our choices? Thank you.
My name is Kyoko. We have Nico up. When you're ready, you may start the time.
What would you do if you had to change your name and cultural identity? This is the situation the Korean characters faced in the novel When My Name Was Kyoko. This novel is set over 5 years during World War II in Japanese-occupied Korea. The two main protagonists are the Koreans Sun-hee and Tae-young. Both characters act as narrators in the book, giving their thoughts and experiences about life under Japanese rule, where everything Korean is stripped from them, their names, their culture, and their way of life. This book shows the value of reading as it teaches us the realities of the past and how individuals faced with the challenging realities of life, death, and abuse must find ways to overcome and endure. These are the challenges Sun-hee and her family must cope with when their identities are taken away and replaced with another. As Sun-hee states, the person at the top had to be Japanese. All our lessons were in Japanese. We studied Japanese language, culture, and history. Schools weren't allowed to teach Korean history or language. This book will help you understand why this part of history happened and how people overcame such horrific tragedies. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Jiwoo and Nico. And we welcome our sixth matchup, Jiho and Toshi. Jiho will be defending first. Let's give him a round of applause. defending Snow Country of Chiho. Once you're ready, you may begin the time.
Books, like a frozen snowflake in your palm, melt away, revealing glimpses of the worlds we've never touched. Snow Country by Yasunaga Kabata doesn't follow a typical story arc, but it takes the readers to the subtle moments of the lives of Komako, Yoko, and Shimamura. The subtlety presents a stark landscape where nature mirrors the fragility of human connections, and their lives speak of the transience of the moments. Quote, an ephemeral moment, no more. Nothing beautiful about it. You know that. It couldn't last. The love between Komako and Shimamura is destined to end from the start. Despite this, they share their intense feelings, and yet everything is in vain. Through their wasted love, we're left to wonder, what is the point of creating a moment or even pivot if it doesn't last? Thank you.
Defending Stephen King's The Body, we have Toshi next. Once you're ready, you may begin the time.
Why are books valuable? Although this may seem like a common question to many, there are not really big readers like myself. After reading this book, The Body by Stephen King, I believe books help us realize the things we fail to recognize in our daily lives. In this case, I managed to find the value of friendship. This book is written by the main protagonist, Gordy Lachance, and contains 3 other main characters that are Gordy's friends. The book progresses forward as the boys pivot in order to adapt from their difficult home lives. Throughout the story, the boys bond with each other through various challenges, both physically and emotionally. It becomes quite obvious that his friends had ultimately helped him become a better version of himself. However, it is only after Gordy matures that he realizes how much of an impact his friends had on him when he was a teen. And this last quote really reflects this. I never had any friends later on like the ones I had when I was 12. Jesus, did you? Thank you.
Another round of applause for Chiho and Toshi. This next judge that we're welcoming, I got to see her come in for the first time in the qualifiers, and it was really wonderful to hear the warm and insightful feedback that she gave the defenders at that point. I also know her as my daughter's dance instructor's mother, so I'd like to read about her as a reader. Suzanne Yonesako. Suzanne taught in the Faculty of Humanities at Hokai Gakuen University. She grew up reading the classics, Shakespeare, Henry James, D.H. Lawrence, Tolkien. She even discovered British women authors such as Barbara Pym and the sisters A.S. Byatt and Margaret Drabble. Suzanne believes that all students should read books by female, non-binary writers to the same extent as books by male writers. When Suzanne was working, she mainly read academic articles related to phonetics and language teaching. These days, she's rereading her favorite books and getting new insights many years later. Let's give her a warm round of applause. When I first came into Hokkaido International School 10 years ago, I was kind of the secondary English teacher, and that was a challenge, to be sure. I'm very happy to have a partner in English, and I'd like to give him my sincere thanks for helping support literacy. Let's give a hand for Mr. Seth P. I teach 11th and 12th, and so many of the finalists here are through his classes. And last but not least, I'd like to welcome our final judge for the HIS Reads Finals. Let's give a round of applause for Mr. Eric Johnson. I've gotten to know Eric for the last probably year and a half or so, and it's been a pleasure to get to know him. And I was very happy when he decided that he would bring his beautiful face here to be a part of this. He's also one of our judges for HIS Rights, so I'll introduce him once again for that. Eric Johnson is the senior national correspondent for the Japan Times. Based in Sapporo, he covers national politics and Hokkaido news. Among his favorite fictional works are Herman Melville's Moby Dick, Evelyn Waugh's Scoop, James Lee Burke's Flags on the Bayou, Yoko Ogawa's The Memory Police, and Edith Schiffert's poetry book, The Kyoto Verse. Let's give him a warm round of applause. Up next, we have our final matchups, match 7 and 8. This first round, we begin with 16, and in round 2, there will only be 8. Our next matchup, we welcome to the stage Hane and Ava. Hane will be defending first. Hane will defend The Little Prince. When you're ready, you may begin the timer.
Do you ever feel like you're wasting too much time on your phone? As teens, we usually get away from the world with technology, which transports us to the cyber world. But what if there was a better way to spend your time, and an even better way to escape? Reading is not just a pastime, it's a getaway to creative, imaginary worlds, helping us to be more understanding and curious. 2 keys to personal growth. The Little Prince is a perfect image of the impact reading can have on our lives. Through the journey of The Little Prince, we are introduced to unique characters and transported to unheard planets. Through the book, by getting to understand different characters and fictional characters, you're immersed into the creative world. I still struggle with the misuse of my free time because I just want an easy escape, but being on my phone causes me to procrastinate. So I encourage all of you to start reading not just this book, but all sorts of titles, so you can learn new things and get transported to the literary creative world. Thank you.
Defending Dead Poets Society, Ava. When you're ready, you may begin the timer.
What is the importance of reading? Typically, reading is to improve our sleeping, improve our vocabulary, to improve our memory, and so on. But why is reading that important? Mr. Keating quotes, "We read and write poetry because we are part of the human race." In my opinion, we read because it helps us escape reality for a couple pages, even a few chapters. In Dead Poets Society, it's books that Todd read and the information that taught him. His pivoting includes him with poetry, the work of literature from the use of simple yet complex words we learn from books. Todd pivots from being an anxious individual to a carefree individual. He uses the power of reading and poetry to change and become a new person. While Todd changed from the books he read and the classes he took, this book could also help you change yourself, help expand your knowledge, and create a bigger understanding of your own imagination. Now, I ask you all, why do you think reading is important? Thank you.
Another round of applause for Hane and Eva. And we welcome our final face-off for round 1 to the stage. Defending first will be Emilio, followed by Marie. Let's give him a round of applause. Defending Metro 23, Emilio is first. When you're ready, you may begin the timer.
Have you ever felt the dim maroon glare of emergency lights on an airplane or during a power outage, leaving you something closer to a charcoal etching than your own believable sight? In the world of Metro 2033, that is everyday life. No sunshine dares to penetrate the concrete tunnels of the Moscow Metro. And as the people inhabiting it grow weaker, hope is lost. Our protagonist, Artyom, is nothing more than a humble factory worker who has responsibility thrust upon him by his father's eccentric friend. But the only things he tells Artyom being, quote, "Don't wait for me if I've been gone 2 days. You will meet people everywhere who will help you. You have to do this. You know that everything depends on you." Artyom pivots into producing his potential when he steps foot into the unknown tunnels, not knowing if he'll even survive. Now, the chances that we at Hokkaido International School will ever be forced underground into shameless survival and dark passages is almost null. So the value of reading this book is that we gain an understanding of that hopelessness. So to all of you I speak to today, I ask you, where do you turn? How do you turn when you're completely hopeless?
Defending Unstoppable. We have Marie next. When you're ready, you may start the timer.
How do you learn to pivot beyond what you think you're capable of, when all your life there are more people telling you about your disabilities rather than your abilities? Nick Vujicic was born without limbs, which meant that he had no arms and no legs. So naturally, this would put him at a disadvantage compared to people with arms and legs. So how would he learn to shape and create his own perspective and identity on life? Through many experiences and mindsets, books give us a glimpse of new perspectives that we can consider in our own lives, allowing us to grow, even through the pages of a book. Nick's perspective can be seen on his perspective on overcoming hardships can be seen in this next quote, where he says, "You have to keep things in perspective. You can't keep feelings of grief, remorse, anger, and fear. But you can recognize them as pure emotional responses and then manage them so that they don't dictate your life. In the same way, how would you learn to use and take advantage of your so-called weaknesses and turn them and grow them into pivotal moments in your life?" Thank you.
Another round of applause for Emilio and Marie. Give them a hand. Thank you. And let's give another round of applause to our 16 finalists. Defenders. It was wonderful. I'd like to give a huge thank you to not only the judges in front of you today, but to all of our judges who've taken the time to support literacy. Throughout the contest of HIS Reads, we've had 10 different judges, including these 5. And HIS Writes, we've had 8. So let's give a round of applause for those judges here or there. And now we come to our very first difficult choice, a pivotal moment perhaps for our judges. They'll be heading back to do some reps in the weight room, and we'll give them their time. And then for us, we're going to take a 5-minute intermission, and we'll come back. The judges will have a little bit more time, and I'm going to tell us a little bit about HIS Rights next, okay? So could all of the audience be back in 5 minutes, and judges maybe 10 to 12. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and we will resume. While we are waiting for our judges to finish their reps in the weight room, I'd like to introduce the other half of our literacy celebration, HIS Rights. Begun in 2021, it's a short story competition. It's open to entries from students grade 6 and above. It encourages student creativity through narrative writing. Every year, just like HIS Reads in the school, we have a theme, and students will either work solo or collaboratively to create a short story based on that theme from 2,000 to 8,000 words. The school has a creative writing class and also has an open submission 2 times a year. Just like HIS Reads, HIS Writes comes with prizes. In fact, the grand prize is a Tosho card for 8,000 yen, a champion certificate, a book over there from a selection, and their name engraved on the Literacy Champions plaque right outside the entrance. You'll get to see the name of the story and the writers themselves. All of the finalists will get to have some prizes along with them. Once again, this year's theme was pivot. It starts with a quote, Ralph Waldo Emerson. "Man was made for conflict, not for rest. In action is his power, not in his goals, but in his transitions. Man is great." All of us are trying to find ways to navigate life, I think. And oftentimes we look to the lives of others, whether real or fictional, and we look at those choices and those pivotal decisions that they make to understand some choices that we might make as we navigate life. To give you some idea of the process for HIS Rights, here is a visual. We have a long list sample of stories. They go through a panel of judges who then move them forward to a short list, 5 stories that you're going to hear about today, and those become the 5 finalists. I'd like to give some honor to not just the final stories today, the final 5, but to our long list of 10. So if you hear your name and you're here, whether on the stage or out there, I'd love for you to stand up when I read your name so that we can give you a round of applause for your efforts. It takes a lot to write a story. Our contestants, Daniel Shen and John Wang. Can you give them a hand? Daniel. John is absent. Another contestant, Roman. There he is. He's not hard to miss. Okay. Another contestant, we have Emilio. Can you stand up again, Emilio? Nanako, let's give her a round of applause. Shuka. Asana. Julius, John, Akira, Minato, and Shun. Put your hand up at least. Okay. Another one for Daniel, a second entry. Jiwoo, and Kira and Mika. And of course, there's a process. We have our long list open entry judges, our long list and open entry judges. And the first one is me. I won't read my entire narrative for you, but I came to this school 10 years ago, and we began HIS Reads as a desire of the headmaster to create a school that celebrates literacy and literature. We thought that it was really important to also honor HIS rights. I love what I do as a teacher. I also have my own aspirations to become a writer, and I work quite hard at doing that. I've got a few publications in Niseko's Powder Life magazine, and it was really wonderful. Each year it's very wonderful to read through the stories that are submitted. So, thank you. I had 2 more join me in the long list panel. The first one is Mr. Tim Schlosser. Tim Schlosser was an English and creative writing major at Seattle University. His career has been in education, but he's kept writing on the side over the years. He's currently finishing, I think that should be past tense, a draft of a young adult sci-fi novel that he would like to publish someday, in one form or another. He loves supporting young writers and creative writing in general, and he feels honored to read the work of the finalists. Each story, new story brought into the world, makes it a little bit richer. Let's give a round of applause for Mr. Schlosser. Another one of our long list judges for HIS rights in the top of the funnel is Hiro or Hiroki Fin Hoshino. He is a teacher over in Niseko Shogi. Hiro Fin Hoshino is a keen reader and writer of fiction with a background in contemporary performing arts. He's always looking for fresh ways to express a creative idea while itching to pick up a thrilling story nearby. His short stories have been published in Australia and the USA. His surrealist horror short, The Visitor, won an honorable mention at the Writer's Digest 9th Annual Writing Competition and will be published in an upcoming anthology with Bridget's Gate Press. He is currently working on a children's novella while researching Ainu mythology. He's also a music teacher, our music teacher at the Niseko campus. So from afar, let's give him a round of applause. And we share these judges with you to show that this is a really authentic and serious process for those who want to be a writer and to want to share their creativity. as we move from the long list into the short list, we have a whole other panel of judges who I'll be introducing, along with some nice quotes about writing for us to I'll wait for that. One of my favorites, even an author of one of the books being defended. If people cannot write well, they cannot think well. And if they cannot think well, others will do their thinking for them. That's George Orwell. Shortlist finalist judges. So when you go from the long list to the short list judges, 5 of them, lived through 5 different stories. Our first finalist judge that I'd like to introduce is Lisa Lewis. She's an MA and she's an award-winning author of over 20 books in multiple genres, including the groundbreaking yoga poems, Lines to Unfold, and Yoga Heart, Lines on the 6 Perfections. She has received numerous awards for her writing, including NEA, NEH, and California Art Council grants, and we also are giving away some of her books today to the HIS Reads finalists. So from a distance, if she happens to tune into our video that goes out there later, let's give her a round of applause. And now I'd like to introduce one of the finalists, and I'd like to do it with kind of a blurb that they've written about the story that they created. Hands shaking, just seconds away from ending it all, when someone saves her, Raina looks up to see a girl stopping her from ending her miserable life. This is when Raina's whole life changed. With an alcoholic mother and no friends at school, Raina had no more hope left in her life anymore. All she ever wanted was a normal life with a loving mother and friends. When she meets a special friend in the forest where she starts to discover all the secrets and the shadows of the forest. Let's give a round of applause to Asana Yano and Shadows of the Forest. We have 10 copies of that. Mr. Beatty and my supporting crew over there would love to give one to you. So, please put your hand out and they'll be walking around to share it. You may think that this next author and this, who gives this quote, this is a professional author, might just be a beach reader, but I will tell you that in many ways, he's a master writer. He's even got a book on writing and a really nice advice for one aspect of writing. Description begins in the writer's imagination, but should finish in the reader's. I'd like to introduce 2 more of our judges for the HIS Reads finals. The first one is Lane Cunningham. She was here on a writer's residency over at Tenjin-yama. They have a place for writers there. And she even came into a creative writing class and gave a workshop on short story writing. And she has served as a judge the past 2 years. Lane Cunningham loves traveling and writing, is ecstatic that the act of writing takes her to new places in the world. Recently, she visited Rwanda to research the novel she's been working on and spent time in Cuba writing parts of the draft manuscript. She also travels through time and into the minds of others when she reads books. She's also the senior editor of Sunsport Literary Journal, an international magazine of literature and the arts. It's a magazine that often will run some creative writing contests, so if you're interested, you should look her up and contact her. Let's give a round of applause for her. She's in America. And this is not only a professional writer and an avid reader, but a mother of a couple of our students at the school, Karn. Karn is an avid reader and can't pass a day without picking up her Kindle. She's contributed to several books, including Tokyo, The Complete Residence Guide, Explore Publishing, To Japan with Love, a travel guide for the connoisseur, as well as Sacred Places of a Lifetime and Food Journeys of a Lifetime. She co-authored a children's book, Mother Wild, a book of mother's dreams that was created with moms in mind. Her passion is travel, writing, and she has written for Condé Nast Traveler, Travel and Leisure, and CNA, among other publications. She can't be with us today, but she's not so far away. Let's give her a round of applause. We have a copy of one of Lane Cunningham's books over there as a prize, and Karen Miller has shared with us some of her sample writing, and so all of the finalists will get a copy of that so that they can explore different kinds of writing. I'd like to introduce another one of our finalists through their blurb about their story. It is one rainy afternoon when a successful, renowned horror author, Jin Yong, realizes he simply cannot write more. Whether he admitted it or not, he was facing a burnout, which he believed was absurd, with his unquestionably perfect planning and excelling knowledge in writing and his life. That is when he hears a familiar old Korean tune from the radio that brings him a flush of forgotten memories, and Jin Yong's stubbornly monotonous, far from fantasy-like life pivots to a different angle with his chance meeting with Yuna, his close friend, in the past. Let's give a round of applause for Ji-woo Kim. Mr. B and the supporting crew over there have 10 copies. Put up your hand if you'd love to read Yelia. In this very gym that we stand, we took this photo this year. And soon we're going to be moving into the second round. But before that, we have to say goodbye to 8 of our defenders and say wonderful job together. Our first matchup was between Nina and Taylor. Nina and Taylor, could you please stand? Hear your name called, you can remain on the stage, and if your name isn't called, thank you so much, and please have a spot in the audience so you can support the defenders. Drum roll. Advancing forward into the second round, a hand for Nina. Thank you, Taylor. And let's have, it's a nice jump. Let's have another face-off stand up. Face-off stand up. Let's have Daniel and Gardu stand. Let's give a round of applause for Daniel and Gardu. And moving forward into round 2, drum roll. Daniel. Thank you, Gardu. And let's have, up next, let's have Hane and Ava stand up. Let's give them a round of applause. Moving forward into round 2. Drum roll. Surprising the seating. A round of applause for Ava. And let's have Jiho and Toshi stand up. Let's give a round of applause. Moving forward into round 2. Drum roll! Jiho! Thank you, Coach. And let's have Jiwoo and Nico stand up. Let's give a round of applause for Jiwoo and Nico. Moving forward into round 2, drum roll. Jiwoo. Next, let's have Asana. Let's have Jiwoo and Asana stand. Moving forward, drum roll. Asana. Thank you, Jimmy. Emilio and Marie, let's give them a round of applause. Drum roll. Emilio. Thank you, Marie. And we get to, I think, the last one. So, the last one, Nanako and Yeun, please stand. Let's give a round of applause. Drum roll. Nanako. All right. And I will be introducing them later, but we've got some support this year with this fancy little slideshow updating all of our brackets and our matchups. And so I'm looking forward to all of that. Our first matchup. Let's give a round of applause for Nina and Daniel. Nina will be defending first. We began this second round with a photo of all of us in HIS formation as we pivot forward as Huskies. And so inside of each one of us is our character in the heart of a Husky. I got in trouble for that many years ago, but it's another story. Round 2 is all about showing the audience and our judges how a book can change our character and why we want to read that book for that very reason. Up first is Nina defending Educated. It's a 2-minute round, so I think it's reset to 2:03. When you guys are ready, you may start the timer.
Growth may not be comfortable, but it is natural, necessary, and a large part of life. Seeing characters grow and develop is an encouraging reminder that though often scary, each and every one of us is better because of it. This being said, development is not only about the large decisions we make at crossroads, but also about the small ways we improve every day. Throughout the memoir, Westover goes from being submissive and obedient to her parents' every word to a strong and independent individual, and eventually to a renowned scholar. This growth was by no means easy, but it was possible because of Westover's innate curiosity, grit, and motivation, all traits recognized in Huskies. Westover's curiosity is what sparked her interest in a world outside of rural Idaho. Her motivation is what drove her to make real changes to see the world, and her grit is what led to her success. It kept her going when she was failing out of college. All three of these traits, as Westover embodies them, should be an inspiration to us. But what stood out to me the most was her grit. I think we can all agree that college is hard. Not only is it a big change from high school, but imagine if you had to go to college without going to high school. That kind of determination and work ethic, all captured under grit, are what truly changed my perspective. After reading this book, not only was I even more grateful for my education and access to books and information, but I was also motivated to work harder, question more, and never settle. Westover went from having virtually no education to having a PhD, being named one of Time's 100 most influential people, and receiving a National Humanities Medal from the President of the United States. Her ability to make something out of nothing and the sheer amount of growth she achieved thus far in her life made me want to do more with my life. Reading Educated can do the same for you. Educated will make you cherish your education and the freedom to explore, but it will also push you to work harder, to take advantage of your opportunities, and make your own future, further embodying the traits of a Husky. Thank you.
Defending to live, Daniel.
The development of a character is never linear, nor is it quick or easy. It's like a curvy road up a steep mountain. It's a grueling journey, but there will always be progress. The main characters of my book live in a country called China, a country literally filled with steep mountains and grueling journeys. However, to my character, those mountains, those journeys, they're nothing compared to his life. I find it very ironic that I'm defending a book today about a time in China where books were burned. A time filled with such immense inequalities and utter ridiculousness that it's hard to imagine ever happening again in the current state of our world. There have been many insane policies in China, and unfortunately, there still are. And one of these actions was the Cultural Revolution. The story's title, To Live, is tied together with the Husky theme of resilience. One of the things I learned from this story was 好死不如赖活着, which means it's better to live a bad life than to die a good death. This ties to the title again, because no matter how bad your life is, no matter what you're going through, no matter if you can't go home, if you can't live a life that you want to feel peace and freedom in, you still need to go on, go live. This story teaches me that I should appreciate what I have, and that strength comes from hardship and from struggle. This book doesn't tell a story, it encourages me to be better as a person and to live a better life. There are just times that your life that you don't feel like going forward and you don't want to move on. But those are the most important times and the most important choices you make. Embrace resilience to live. Thank you.
Round of applause for Nina and Daniel. In our next matchup, we have 3 of them this round. A round of applause for Ava and Amelia. Ava will be defending first.
Character development. What is the importance of such a thing? The importance of character development is because we as people in life, and characters in stories, change. or develop. Sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. In Dead Poet Society, Todd develops in a good way. He develops using one of the Huskies' expression. Todd uses expression as he writes poetry, as he speaks poetry, and as he grows as a poet. Todd says, "From the moment we enter crying to the moment we leave dying, it'll cover your face as you wail and cry and scream." He uses expression in his words, in his thoughts, and in his actions to show how he feels, to show his class how he feels and thinks. He starts off as the quiet kid, disturbed by others' thoughts about him and afraid to talk in front of class. But right as soon as he expresses his feelings through his own art of poetry, he changes, along with some help from friends. He grows into a more open human that makes his own life great again. After I read this book, it changed my point of view in life, how every moment is to live for, even the bad moments. Because what would we do if we didn't learn from our own mistakes? This book also showed me that character development isn't just a story concept. It's something within yourself that you will have to go against one day if you want to change. In addition, this book helped me learn that you should always seize the day. Mr. Keating tells his class, "Carpe diem, seize the day, boys. Make your life extraordinary." In my view, reading this book could change your life, or perhaps it might not, but it can shape your view of life maybe even a tad bit. Possibly it will make you want to make your life extraordinary, like Mr. Keating said. Or it might change you in a way you never thought was even possible. Thank you.
Defending Metro 2023, next is Emilio.
I am an anxious person. Well, who isn't? I'm scared to do my homework because if I don't turn it in, I'll get an F. If I turn it in, it could be anything. It could be A or B mostly, but what if it's a C? Dear God, what if it's a D? What if every A or B I've gotten before, until now, has been this long streak of luck? And so, with this imposter's, gambler's fallacy, I walk, trembling in fear of my next assignment. I could cheat. Absolutely, I could cheat so hard and never get caught. Not really. That kind of fakeness makes me sick to my stomach. And so in a way, my integrity leaves me in an unfavorable position. During his journey across the metro, RTO must pass through a checkpoint run by Nazis known as the Fourth Reich. There he makes friends with an old man and a young boy, both trying to pass through the checkpoint, both executed in front of him. He revolts against the officers in a fit of blind rage, who were poised to let him through, and in his monologue he puts it as such. Quote, "There are some things you don't want to do, things that you tell yourself you won't do, you forbid yourself, and suddenly they happen all by themselves." Artyom is put on death row. His integrity leaves him in an unfavorable position. I'm not saying my teachers are Nazis. They are far from, okay? But there's a sense of being stuck between a rock and a hard place that is present here. And the only way out is to bare your teeth and run ahead. Reflecting on it, I realize a lot of these virtues are woven into one another. Grit, for example. In the story, Artyom never gives up on the idea that he will finish his journey, and he eventually does. In real life, when I go to sleep with an F, I wake up in the next morning, get another assignment, and this time, inspired, sink my teeth into it, eyes closed. It is in that sense, to hold integrity is a gritty action. And to succeed when life feels hopeless, grit is integral. Thank you.
Round of applause for Ava and Amelia. In our next matchup, welcome to the stage Jiwoo and Jiho.
I was benevolent and good. Misery made me a fiend. Make me happy, and I shall again be virtuous. With how the monster failed to develop from good to the better, I was able to pivot my focus to see a different view of our choices. I am the creature. I was once virtuous, an honest learner who made ethical and moral choices. When my inventor, Victor, successfully created me, he became sick with the fear of the monster he made. He immediately ran away as if nothing had ever happened. Just like that, I was left abandoned in the world the next moment I was born. But despite the situation, I strive to continue existing, protecting my virtue and constructing my justice to make the right decision. I tried to approach ordinary people. I met a beautiful little boy and talked to him, only to frighten him and find out he was a brother of my cruel creator. I was hurt and enraged. I was no human, but a reject. The pain kept on mounting uncontrollably, and I just did not know what else to do. I surely felt incredible guilt for my actions after. In fact, the victims didn't hate me as much as I did. When I finally confronted Victor, I kindly offered the last chance to take responsibility. But even that, Victor denied the given opportunity. And I failed to be educated with a new insight into morals and to develop for the better. Indeed, Victor had created a monster, with sincerity and integrity being long gone, but fueled with revenge and detest. We all start with the good in all of us. However, it is from the moment when others begin to overlook and question the best in them that they start to be stained with negativity. True virtue can only be nurtured by people and their surroundings, and perhaps I could have been a simple, happy man. Thank you.
From Frankenstein to Snow Country, Jiho to Finland. Next.
Birth, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and finally to death. Knowing the consequences, our actions become futile, and knowing the end of our life without the meaning of life. In Yasunari Kawabata's Snow Country, we encounter two characters who embody vastly different attitudes toward their existence. To Shimamura, life is nothing more than seeking pleasure. To Kumako, however, life is something what she tries to hold, despite all the tragedies she's been through. Kumako chooses to immerse herself in emotions, to love deeply and act, even knowing that the relationship will end inevitably. Shimamura dismisses her and calls her as wasted effort. The two characters present our attitudes toward a life, whether we stand outside our story or we walk inside it. The book does not tell us which path is right or wrong, because the truth is our attitude doesn't change our ultimate end, but how we perceive things and engage with our experiences create a meaning of life. And that is called ownership, taking possession of our lives, making decisions, empowering ourselves, and shaping our future. Kumako's life may seem wasted to some, but she owned her life and sought to create changes. So, was her life really wasted? Or was it in fact deeply meaningful because she lived authentically and fully? Reflect on your life, the moments when you tried something seemingly impossible, the moments when you dared to pivot in a new direction. These were the moments that really mattered because you took ownership. So let us strive to walk inside our stories. Thank you.
All right, a round of applause for Jibu and Jiho. And we get to our final competition for round 2. Let's welcome to the stage Asana and Nanako. Flowers for Israel.
I don't know what's worse, to not know what you are and be happy, or to become what you always wanted to be and feel alone. This quote was said by Charlie when he was finally able to become smart. He expected his whole life to change, and finally getting his happy dream life. But in the end, he realizes the place where he started off was already the perfect place. Now, I'm not saying we should never explore or step out of our comfort zone, but in fact, the opposite. Imagine what would happen if a person never went out of their home and faced challenges. Sure, they might be comfortable, but they'll never feel satisfied and always be curious of the world outside. Even though sometimes the world outside might not be better, it is still part of the journey to explore and learn. Yes, Charlie didn't have to get the surgery. He already had everything he needed for happiness. But at that time, he couldn't see that. It's only when Charlie is able to step out and take a journey to be able to reflect on his life he had before, and even more greatly appreciate the things he had. And I believe he showed one of the Huskies, reflection, solution creators who have the ability to self-reflect. Charlie was never confident in himself to start off with. He thought he was never enough if he wasn't smart. But through his journey reflecting on mistakes he made, he was able to develop greatly as a character, with new knowledge and confidence as a person, even without his intelligence. I used to be afraid of taking risks or making big choices, and I still am, and oftentimes that is normal. We are afraid of failure and disappointing ourselves and others, but without failure we do not learn. Just like Charlie did with venturing out of his comfort zone, in life, we should have the courage to push ourselves to experience the world. For it is only when we have seen the full colors of the world, we can appreciate the values of where we first started. Thank you.
Defending 1984.
What would you do if your freedom was stripped from you? Would you fight for your freedom and what you believe in, even if it meant turning the whole country against you? Winston Smith, the protagonist of 1984, gradually displays one of the Huskies, resilience. He showed resilience against the oppressive totalitarian regime through the use of his diary. He wrote multiple times in his diary, quote, "Down with Big Brother, down with Big Brother, down with Big Brother." Writing down his rebellious thoughts was a dangerous act because if caught, it could be punished as a thought crime. Quote, "Thought crime does not entail death. Thought crime is death." It is revealed towards the end that the party knew of Winston's rebelliousness all along, which leads him to be tortured horrendously. Winston resists and resists, but he eventually gives in, accepting total control of the party. Winston's strong sense of rebelliousness is inspiring. He was resilient through torture. He chose to rebel, little by little, in a world where it seemed as though there was no hope for freedom. Freedom of thought, freedom of speech, or any form of freedom. He lived in an unsettling society where your every move was watched, and anyone you knew could turn you in if you even thought about rebellion. Although Winston was not successful in his pursuit for freedom, if we were to fight for our freedom today, things will look much different. In our world today, we are interconnected through the internet. It would be much easier to find people with similar opinions to us. And even if our information was manipulated, we have enough knowledge to know what is wrong and what is right. Winston's character convinced me to stay resilient, even if the whole world was against me. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Asana and Nanako. And those are the first two rounds. Let's give a round of applause for our grade 8. It's another pivotal moment for our judges. They've got to get a few more reps in the weight room, and we've got a 5-minute intermission for everybody else. Please use the bathroom, get a drink. We'll be back in 5 minutes. The judges will be back once you're ready. As our judges are finishing off their sets back there, making their pivotal decisions, we move back from reading to writing. You might have noticed that there was some overlap between the HIS Reads finalists and the HIS Writes finalists, and I don't think that's by accident. I'd like to share some quotes and also share some blurbs for some stories, and I'd love to give you a chance to get your hands on those stories from HIS Writes. Another quote from Stephen King: "Write with the door closed, rewrite with the door open." A misanthropic young man on the brink of death has a chance meeting with a dog that will forever alter the trajectory of his life. Let's give a round of applause. Please stand for Emilio, man's best friend. And we've got 10 copies of that. Shun's going to be helping hand those out. If you'd like a copy, flag him down. Man's best friend. Just like HIS Reads, HIS Writes has 5 finalist judges, and I'd like to introduce 2 more of them. Okay, guys. Next time. One of our esteemed judges for HIS Writes is Mr. John Newton-Webb. John Newton-Webb is the author of 4 plays and has worked as an actor, director, and storyteller. His poems in both English and Japanese are widely published, as are his translations into English of Japanese poems. He's currently writing a novel for children. You can read some of John's work and occasional essays on poetry at johnnewtonwebb.blogspot.com. Let's give a round of applause for one of our HIS Writes final judges. He lives in Sapporo. He hails from the UK, and we've got some of his poetry that the finalists will get as well. Edgar Allan Poe. Words have no power to impress the mind without the exquisite horror of their reality. And it's the power of words that we honor through HIS Reads. Another blurb. He was like a shooting star, a sudden bright streak of light entered my dark but somewhat blissful night. Love is magical, it casts a spell, leaving us dancing with hope, wishing for our shooting star to remain in our night sky forever. But what do we do when it's gone? Let's give a round of applause for another HIS Writes finalist, Nanako! And I'd love for you to see like the overlap that we have between the HIS Reads and the HIS Writes finalists. And think about some of those quotes and the power of words that we have. We're going to be shifting pretty soon from round 2 to round 3. Round 2 is about the way a book can impress our character, can change our character. Round 3 is going to be about the way a book can deepen our understanding of society. Before we move to that round, we need to acknowledge our round 2 defenders once again. Can we please have them stand? First, let's have Nina and Daniel. Let's give them a hand. Moving on to round 3. Drum roll! Nina! Thank you, Daniel. And our our next pair. Let's get Ava and Amelia up. Let's give them a round of applause. And moving forward, drum roll. Ava! Thank you, Hannah. And can we get Jiwoo and Jiho to stand and give them a round of applause? Moving forward into round 3, drum roll! A round of applause for a story that relates to us in Hokkaido. Jiho! All right. Thank you. And thank you, Jiwoo. And finally, our final face-off for round 2. Can we give a round of applause for Asana and Nanako? Moving forward into round 3. A drum roll! Asana! And then there were 4. Yeah, thank you for your attention through this. We get into the 3rd round. This is about deepening our understanding, the way we connect ourselves to the book, challenges our stereotypes, changes our perspective of movements or issues. Yeah. And we move forward into the 2 face-offs for round 3. A round of applause for Nina and Ava. Let's give them a hand. Nina will be defending first.
Understanding society allows us to build a better, more harmonious world for all. It fosters unity in diverse communities and helps us make wise decisions. It's about more than just understanding our peers, it helps us understand ourselves too. Stereotypes tend to tunnel our vision, and they're often inaccurate. Educated addresses this on multiple levels. While polygamy, sensibility, and restrictions may be all that comes to mind when you think of the Church of Latter-day Saints, this book uncovers the complexities present in religious households and the diversity in belief and experience that can exist in a community. Further, Westover challenges mental health stereotypes and illuminates the problematic stigma associated with mental health struggles. In order to address this, Westover draws on her own experiences to ultimately make the point that anyone from any background can struggle with their mental health, and the most important thing is to be understanding and supportive. She makes the on-point statement that, quote, "The thing about having a mental health breakdown is no matter how obvious it is that you're having one, it is somehow not obvious to you. I'm fine, you think, so what if I watched TV for 24 hours straight yesterday? I'm not falling apart, I'm just lazy. Why it's better to think yourself lazy than yourself in distress, I'm not sure." Reading this book truly changed my worldview, and it can do the same for anyone. In terms of stereotypes that Westover debunks, it made me check my own thinking to make sure that I don't make generalizations or assumptions. Reading about her experiences made me more motivated to fight the stigma surrounding mental health. This memoir will truly make you think twice before applying stereotypes to people. It will teach you the importance of kindness and that you never know everything that is going on in someone's life. It will make you want to eliminate the societal stigma surrounding mental health and create an overall more accepting world. It will truly make you a better person, just as it did for me. Thank you.
And up next, we have Ava.
Why is understanding society important? It's important for a couple different reasons. For example, getting along with people, understanding people's feelings, and improving society in general. In this book, Dead Poet Society, understanding society is an important role as everyone around Todd is having problems of their own, just like everyone here in this gym having problems of your own. As he grows, he sees more clearly that society can affect anyone, and he's catching a glimpse of it himself. Welton, the school he goes to, has a school society that scares him, as he's fretful, he's anxious. But as he writes poetry, as he starts talking to people, and as he stands up in front of his class to talk, just like I am standing in front of you presenting my HIS Reads, he stands up in front of his class to talk, and he starts to open up a bit more. Of course, his school society has rules which he breaks to have fun. This teaches people that sometimes rules in any society are meant to be broken. Not all the time, just sometimes. After I read Dead Poet Society, my new understanding of the world is that everyone is struggling from something, whether they show it or not, whether it's a small problem or a big problem, even in a happy society, or any society. I learned a lot from this book on how people in society and society itself can affect your thinking, your speech, and your actions. This book can help you understand the same way as I did, although it depends, as we all have different feelings, thoughts, and problems. Yet, this book could open up your understanding of the world because it mirrors reality in a way maybe you can connect with, or maybe you feel like you're the character in that book. John Keating says, "No matter what anybody tells you, words and ideas can change the world." Thank you.
A round of applause for those two defenders. Thank you, Nina and Ava. And we welcome Jiho and Asana to the stage. Jiho's up.
We can never understand the passage of time, the unpredictability of life, the existence of God, and perhaps us. We live in a desolate world, trapped in snow, which engulfs our desire to connect. Just like the snow that hinders movement, the characters in Snow Country barely interact with each other, and snow devours everything except for their instincts. Towards the end of the story, Yoko, a woman who lost her lover, commits a suicide at a building on fire. Komako desperately runs to her. As fire melts the snow, the physical and emotional distance shortens, and the long resentment fades away. Quote, "Milky Way flowed inside with a roar. It was a moment of realization, but when the snow melted, it was too late." Snow is a symbol of metaphorical illness, of willful indifference and impassivity that afflicts every character. We are all trapped in ourselves, unable to see, hear, and understand others. We see suffering and injustice on the news, but often it doesn't register emotionally. This detachment contributes to the striking records of 26% at risk of depression in Japan. Everyone is inherently different in perspectives, experiences, and emotions. Yet, despite the barriers of snow between us humans seek for connections. So look around you. The people you love, you hate, you care. Talk to them and listen to them. It begins with acknowledging the fact that we are all different. Melt the snow. Thank you.
Sana's next.
How do you imagine a successful person? Good looking, rich, or smart? Well, there are many standards, but when we think about a successful or valuable person, that is oftentimes what defines them. But should a person be measured just by those standards? Charlie is oftentimes faced with these norms. Just because a person doesn't fit the standards society has created, does that make them less of a valuable person? Because Charlie has a low intelligence, he had been treated unfairly all throughout his life, even by the people he trusted. This book really challenges those stereotypes. In one of the moments in the book, Charlie says to a character, "My feelings for you won't change just because I'm becoming intelligent." It shows that even though Charlie may have become smart, he is still the same person as before. Nothing will change him just because of his intelligence. Charlie is still the same person with the same thoughts and feelings. And it challenges the stereotype, showing that intelligence or other standards do not define a person. By reading this book, it changes your perspective as a reader on how you see the world by illuminating the issues today. Just like what Charlie went through in the book, people often treat others like they are less of a human or worthless, making fun of them, treating them unfairly, judging them, all because they aren't what society wants them to be. It made me realize that none of those standards matter as long as you treat yourself and others with kindness. And as long as you're happy and fulfilled in life, that's what makes a successful person. But by seeing these issues from a different perspective, it makes readers get a deeper understanding of challenges and struggles. So now let me ask you, how do you imagine a successful person? Thank you.
Round of applause. Thank you. Okay. And we go from 16 to 8 to 4 to 2. And we come to another judge's decision and a 5-minute intermission. And thank you, judges, for all of your work. We'll be back in our seats in 5 minutes sharp. So we move from 16 to 8 to 4 and to the top 2. Could we please have the face-off of Nina and Ava please stand, and let's give them a round of applause. I think we can all admit that it was a pretty close competition, and if you were a judge, it would be challenging to decide who moves to the final round. But we all have to make those important, pivotal decisions in our life. Moving to the top 2. Drum roll! All right. And the next face-off, can we have them stand, please? Jiho and Asana, let's give them a round of applause. Snow Country Flowers for Elchanan, moving forward, drum roll. Thank you. we'll take a little interlude now as we wait and leave our final two up there. A senior versus middle schooler. We've had one middle school champion in the history of HIS Reads. We've had middle school second places, and so this is where we're at. But what I'd like to do is give some thanks now to making this happen. This isn't something that I have to do solo. And so all of the chairs that you're sitting on and the bleachers, right, and all of these chairs and all of this wonderful setup here is thanks to Mr. Daisuke Morimoto and Audrey and her crew. So let's give them a round of applause. And for quite a while we haven't had snacks here, and so it's really nice to have some coffee and some snacks. And so I'd like to give a round of applause to Miss Yukari Kaizawa for that. And for the very first time, I usually just have books stacked up somewhere on the stage. We have a proper prize table that's beautiful. So a round of applause to Miss Yukari Schlosser. Last year was the first year I designed this sort of fancy slideshow, and then as the judges would come back, I would be scrambling to try to redesign it to make things work. And I didn't have to do that this year because I have some nice support, and I really appreciate that. So could you please thank Shun, Miyu, and Julie for their support. It's really much easier to just kind of get some water and go use the restroom and then know that things are done. So thank you, I really appreciate that. I'd also like to thank a couple more for the work with the help. A lot of the graphics here I created this template last year, and I added a lot of graphics through our Instagram posts that we've been really boosting, kind of like promoting the literacy celebration. And so I borrowed a lot of the graphics to add to this. And so a round of applause for Ellie and Nanako for all of their help in that. And of course, how could I forget to thank this person? Since the start of HIS Reads 10 years ago, this person has been the reason why we can hear the defenders defend, why we can see their defenses for months and years to come, and why we can celebrate their achievements. He set up all the sound and video today. He takes photos of our finalists and champions. He's also printed the huge promotional poster, the final certificates, bought the certificate paper, and is a certified media specialist. I can think of no one more overqualified or under-recognized for their amazing skills than Hajime. HIS is lucky to have him. Let's give him a round of applause. Before we finish this final round of HIS Reads, I'd like you to think about this. Of course it is happening inside your head, Harry, but why on earth should that mean that it is not real? I'm sure you probably know who said that. A final blurb from an HIS Reads finalist. Final story. Charles Gacy is a serial killer who desires to be loved by someone and to kill. Since he was neglected and abused as a child, he wanted to finally have someone love him, and all the abuse slowly made him think differently and more like a psychopath. The police are looking for the serial killer, Dr. Dad, who is actually him, and as he plays the cop, he is slowly but surely being found out. Will he go as far as killing more to get the love he desires so much? Let's give a round of applause to Kira and Mika. And I would like to invite our 5 HIS Reads finalists actually 6 HIS Reads finalists, 5 stories, up to those chairs. Let's give them a round of applause and please come on up. I don't know if I want to be sandwiched between Dr. Death and you. There's 5 final stories, and the judges had some tough decisions to make, and when we looked through it, it was extremely close. It was very, very close. I'm going to be announcing just the 3rd place, the 2nd place, and then we'll hold off for the 1st place in between. Okay? So, without further ado, the 3rd place winner is... Second place winner, so Nanako had 16 points, at 18. A round of applause for Asana! And here we are. HIS Reads the top 2. We welcome to the stage. Up to the stage and up to stand, Ava and Gio. We'll start with Ava first. Let's give them a round of applause.
Pivot. The action of pivoting, turning, changing. How does Todd show the action of pivoting in Dead Poets Society? Todd starts out as a quiet, lonely, and anxious student when he joins Welton. But as he starts making friends, presenting in front of class, and joining a secret poetry club, he pivots from his past self, a quiet, lonely, and anxious student, to a bright, friendly, and happy student. He changes, or pivots, after he decides to carpe diem, which is Latin for seize the day. But the question is, how can Dead Poets Society inspire you to grow? I think that this book can help anyone to seize the day, because time ticks quickly, and just like that, you're graduating school, leaving to get a job, trying to earn money, trying to find a house, trying to make a family. This book taught me to seize the day as if there's no tomorrow. Because what if you don't wake up tomorrow and you didn't make any strong memories? What if you didn't seize your dreams? What if everything just disappears? What if everything is just nothing but empty space? Now, why should you read this book, and what can you do after that? You should read this book, so that you can extend your life as a teenager, as an adult, and as a person. Afterwards, you can choose if you want to watch the movie, and then decide whether you want to seize the day, because you're the only person stopping yourself from changing, from becoming a new person, and from becoming a better human. Thank you.
The final defense in this contest, Gio.
Like snow that falls and melts away, our lives are transient. We slip through the preciousness in the passing seasons and the fleeting smiles. Quote, the stars, almost too many of them to be true, came forward so brightly that it was as if they were falling with the swiftness of the void. Even in times of loss and struggle, beauty exists. Even on a normal day like this, we will find something unexpected. But in every moment, we are too immersed in ourselves, unable to see and appreciate the world, trapped in snowstorms. Capturing unexpected beauty starts from how we perceive the world and the surroundings. Like to have ownership or to be indifferent, whether we choose to pivot or let time pass through. Snow Country is a love story of Komako, a young woman yearning love, and Shimamura, a cynical man who doesn't take love seriously. It is also a love story of Yoko, a woman who loses her lover, and Yukio, a sick man expected to die. After all, nothing is left in the Snow Country except for the traces of snow. The moments spent at Snow Country was like a beautiful dream that cannot last. Our lives are also sorts of the moments that comes in and melts away from our palm. But those tiny moments and interactions we slip through build up to who we are now. Snow Country, a love story of failures and sadness. It tells us why we should live. Moments matter, no matter how big or small they seem. Embrace the void life and make your moment precious. Thank you.
And another round of applause for our top two, Gio and Ava. Give them a round of applause. Thank you. Okay. And that brings us to our final judging decision, where we need to maybe be back in 5 minutes or so. So 5-minute intermission and judging decision, and we will resume. Show on the road. Thank you. Back to your seats. We'll get things started. Thank you once again to our judges, to our audience, to our HIS Reads and Writes finalists. Can I get the HIS Writes finalists up to the front? Let's give them a round of applause. Bring them up to the front. Before we hear the results of HIS Reads, I'd like to announce the winner of HIS Writes. 19 points. If you remember last time, the second one was at 18. It was very close. The ultimate weaver of story, their name on a plaque inside of HIS. Drum roll! Very happy to announce Jiwoo! Thank you. And Jiwoo is not just an avid reader, but a passionate writer, and is very happy to see her end up in first place. She loves writing, so thank you. Let's give her a round of applause, and a round of applause for all of our HIS Reads finals. We're going to go over and set up the certificates and give them their prizes, and then we'll take some pictures before we hear about the HIS Reads decision. Yeah, we want to bring our rights judges up to take some photos. We'll do that first. Okay.
Okay. Everybody, please. One. Sorry. Okay. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Anatomy of Story, and it's a series. It does take place in Japan and America. It's from Lisa Lewis, Jet Black, and Ninja Win, so I enjoy them. This is Lane Cunningham's Reparation, and the Emotion Thesaurus, which I use in the creative writing class with this. I've never seen it's expanded. It's all about emotions. Very important part of writing. A hand for we've got The Bloody Chamber, a collection of short stories, Emotional Wound Thesaurus, and this one goes to Nanako. I need to get one more for our double winners, but we have the Conflict Thesaurus goes to Emilio. Thank you. And at some point you want to check out our website. We will get those stories out there in digital form for you to print out and read yourself, or if you'd like us to print them, just send me an email and I would love to do that if you didn't get a copy of those today. And the moment we've been waiting for. Let's get our HIS Reads top 2 to stand one more time. Jiho, Ava, beautiful defenses, but there can only be one ultimate defender. Let's give a round of applause for, drum roll!